We have a motion to start the to call the meeting to order.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
I'll call your roll for you. Ken Woodland,
Yes.
John Gannon,
Yes.
Carolyn
Right.
Vase.
Yes. Oh, hey, that works.
Why not? I have nothing else to do.
Yeah. But Mark,
Ken, you're the clerk. I mean, you're the clerk for the meeting.
You do what you have to, John, you do what you have to do.
Okay.
Caroline, thank you for sending. It's a document that I just looked at as well that I had. And it's funny because the last time we actually did that was 2014.
Wow. Because I was going to ask, what's the frequency?
Well, it's should be every year, but all we've been giving them is COLAs. So there really wasn't, if there wasn't a need to do a complete, well, you should probably do an evaluation anyway. But
Wait, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about
the clerk one?
the clerk one hasn't been redone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the auditor one was.
Yes, the clerk one.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to do the clerk one first, just to get this? Because I think
Probably the easiest.
it's probably going to be the easiest. Has everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Yeah.
John, did you get a chance to look at it?
I did. Thank you.
Okay. So I will say that we had kind of thought about adding demonstrates innovative thinking to that. I mean, although it was that was like generates creative ideas and solutions was similar. So that was the only thing in the past that we'd thought about that I had written down in my notes.
yeah. I didn't have anything that I thought would be earth-shattering or would, wouldn't have already been taken by the language as it currently exists.
Don, do you have anything?
I'm sorry. What was someone else had suggested an ad? Is that you? Ken?
Well, I had written this down from notes from past when I looked at this, and I don't even know who suggested it, but it was demonstrates innovative thinking.
Right.
But that was sort of like generates creative ideas and solutions. I think that's why but that was just something that was suggested in the past.
It's very
Okay.
similar.
Yeah.
Well, there is a category offers constructive suggestions for improvement. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Or
Well, no, I was saying it was similar to the creative ideas and solutions.
got it. Okay. Yep. The skill set looks fine to me.
Okay.
I think some of the questions are kind of difficult because, I mean, she has offered things to me in the past, and I'm not sure that she does that with others. But, everybody has a different relationship with her. So, I think you should leave it in there and people can make comments as they wish.
You want to add that in there? Because that's a different thing.
No, I think the document speaks for itself.
Okay.
And each individual will, as they've done in the past, will answer to the best of their abilities,
Right. Can I ask a question? Like, because I had talked about this the last time around. Can we ask them to fill out a self-assessment? Because I really think that would be helpful.
I would have to check with Attorney Fair.
And I think I asked that last time around, and I think I couldn't.
It
But
may not be, but I want to, well, Attorney Fair is out. I will send an email to his replacement.
it would be so helpful if we could get them to do self-assessment.
Sure.
Because of exactly that reason. Like they can, like she can look at this and say, well, with Caroline, I met with, I don't know if you remember when we did the whole new town councilor packet.
Packet.
She was really helpful. She had tons of ideas. Like nobody else knows that except for me and
Yeah.
maybe
No,
Angie.
exactly. And she kind of helped you take, when you use your role, she helped you get that document done. And I think that she does things like that for us as well.
Right.
The meet the manager, we're putting an agenda together or a different way to do an advertisement or, she does, and that's why it's difficult for some counselors because they may not have the same interaction with her.
Right.
So I will check I wrote it down. I will check with the attorney that's taking Joe Fair's place for the time being.
Right. Because I think that if she could take a look at this and show and like just say how she's done these things, it would be helpful that she can share with us all. It would be really helpful because I actually, especially as a new town councilor, I found it really hard. I mean, I didn't evaluate the town, I didn't evaluate the town auditor because I had no idea.
Right. I also think we could use, if we do that, we could consider doing it for the manager and Tom Tracy as well.
That's what I was thinking for everybody.
I just want to reiterate that's a great suggestion. Any personnel evaluations that I've been part of, I've had to put together a self-assessment and so it's a iterative process. It's a back and forth. So each of the individuals will be evaluating, gets a chance to put their own best foot forward, and that would impact how we evaluate because, like you said, Caroline, we don't know everything that the individual does behind the scenes. So I think it would be very helpful, especially as a new counselor myself.
So as a backup plan, maybe, is there any way we could share things that we do know, like come up with like a...
In the comment section, you can put something similar to what you just told
Yeah,
us.
right, but who does that go to? Can we share? We've never seen each other's evaluations. You're the only one who sees them.
Well, me and the personnel director,
Right, well,
the person that's being evaluated.
but of the town councilors, you're the only one who sees them.
Typically, legal has said that that's the approach.
Right,
I will check with them again and see if there's a way because
which is fine.
the superintendent's evaluation becomes a public document. So you could go to the central office and look at the evaluations that we just completed for her.
Right.
But I'll check again. I've asked several times, but I would
say that the preferred, I would prefer not to do that. I was just saying that would be kind of a backup. I would prefer to do it where she can assess and she can tell us what she's done over the year.
Yeah.
So that we have something to base our.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or could I suggest that maybe the personnel director can come up with a proven self-evaluation type of form or question?
I'm sure we can, but I want to first ask if we can do that.
Gotcha,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
What you could suggest is in your report, right, that we discussed that and we would check into that as part of the ongoing process pertaining to evaluations.
Yeah.
Good.
And I would want whatever she was doing to be very similar to what we're evaluating, what we have written here.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're evaluating her on. Right. So it wouldn't be like a huge deal.
Right.
Okay. So do we want to keep this form as is?
Yes.
Yeah, I like it.
Want to do we need to make a motion or can we just?
Someone needs to make a motion. Just
Okay.
so we have it.
I'll make a motion that we leave the clerk evaluation form unchanged.
I will second that motion.
You want to call on us, Mark?
I will, if you want to see if there's any more discussion.
Oh. Any more discussion?
None.
Councilor Woodland,
Yes.
Councilor Gannon,
Yes.
Councilor Bays,
Yes.
unanimous.
Okay. On to the town auditors. I can see, this is really hard running a meeting this way.
It's very difficult.
It's really hard. Like, it was fine from the other side.
Last night, Dee Dee was trying to run a meeting. There were over 400 people on the school committee meeting.
And this is like the easiest meeting in the world, and it still feels weird and awkward. Okay. So, I actually had a lot of notes on Tom Tracy. Does anyone have any comments?
I didn't have anything. So.
Yeah, I thought the documents were fine as is.
Okay.
I couldn't come up with any additional evaluation concepts. I think this was quite representative of the position, what the job, what the role entails. So, no changes for me.
I think noting that, I relied pretty heavy on my comment section. So if there was ever something I didn't feel fit into a box, I'm pretty big on my comments. So that's probably part of the reason for me. But
So I'm looking at what we've considered in the past. One of the things John, I'm just curious, did you get a letter from from Tom Tracy at all when you came in, or was that in your packet? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and he sat down with me for a long period of time to
Yeah, he does that.
to onboard me, so to speak.
Right. Yes.
And answered me any questions I had. He was pretty forthright in answering them.
That was one of the things we'd asked him to do in the past, like as part of the sort of, I mean, he always did the onboarding, but he never did the letter. The letter was the.
Yep.
And
I didn't need, it was kind of a refresher for me, so I didn't take too much of his time in that regard.
So the only thing, I'm looking through my notes, the only thing I had that we could consider was adding weights to the categories. I don't know if anyone wants to do that.
I'm sorry, Carolyn, could you clarify that?
Was adding weights, so all the categories of, we've got this rating scale, leadership, quality of work, and service productivity, was adding weights, WEIG, like, in other words, some things would be considered a higher priority, given more weight than the other. So that was,
Right, instead of treating them all individually the same.
right.
Well, I think I'm thinking about the evaluation I just completed for the superintendent. At the end of the evaluation, it gives you an opportunity to have a section that says overall, what score would you give her?
Right. We don't
So
have that.
No, we don't have that. And that may be something that you want to consider adding. But the numbers, when you average them out, give you an average.
Right.
You may have given the auditor a 1 on something, but you really think his overall evaluation is a 5. So it's a different way of looking at it.
Right.
And it gives you an opportunity, because in the past, there are people that say, oh, I don't know anything about this. No score, no score, no score, brings the whole score down. So I think you have to consider.
Well, if you do NA, so when I did NA for my first one.
Yep.
Did that bring the whole score down, or did you count it?
It does.
Why do you count that?
You average it out over the 9.
Yeah, but that's not even a score. That's not even a 0. That's a not.
It's a non-applicable, right. But you still have to take the numbers and divide it.
But wouldn't you just, the 1 through 5 would be what you'd use, not the NA?
yeah, and divide by 8 if someone does an NA.
Maybe I could be wrong. I just have to go back on some of my notes. I have very detailed things about these evaluations.
Well, that's not right.
No, you're right. I agree. You're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm wrong on that. It's on some of the stuff on the manager that we do a little differently that changes the score.
because an NA is not,
Right, right. If 7 people put NA, I'm only taking the 2 scores and averaging out 2 scores I have left.
right,
You're
right.
right.
Okay,
I misspoke.
good. I was gonna say, if I'm not right on that, that we need to change that
No,
somehow.
you're right. You're right.
'Cause- okay,
And is there a certain time of the year that we do the evaluations or
it's supposed to be
recommended?
done by the beginning of the year, right?
Well, it's supposed to be done at the beginning of the fiscal year, so we're right in that ballpark. We're going to do our best to keep this on track as we move forward.
When I was looking through everything, it looked like it was supposed to be done by January 2nd or something like that, was what I saw. It was supposed to be done by the beginning of the year, but that was like supposed to be, that was the deadline of absolutely had to be done. So,
Anything we do over the years has never had a hard and fast deadline except for like budgets. You know, as you're aware, the manager's evaluation has gone, you know, off, but we're trying to get this back on track where it's done annually. And I will look at the notes. If it's January 2nd, then the next one will be done 6 months from now. 5
maybe,
months from now.
maybe that was the town managers that I was looking at. I thought it was the town auditors, but it could have been the town managers because I was looking through all my notes. Okay, well, do we want to add an overall evaluation? That would kind of,
Do you mean by individual?
by each town councilor, just at the bottom, it says additional comments, and then it would just say overall evaluation at the bottom.
And the person would do a 1 through 5?
Yeah. That would just be kind of its own thing. Any comments on that? Anyone want to we have to make a motion to add things?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just mulling it.
Right.
Mulling it over. So
Well,
I-
wouldn't the individual, I'm sorry, Ken, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Now, I was wondering if our individual scores, we can figure out what we're averaging, right? I mean, should we do a overall where we know where we're going with our individual 7 categories?
The reason I suggested it was because, like, say that, you don't think that adaptability or something like that is like a huge criteria, or
Right, okay,
and that might influence your overall score, because even though you don't think that's a big thing. So an overall evaluation would just kind of correct, because we had talked about weighing the different scores. That would be a way of sort of not weighing each score, but kind of overall for the town councilor weighing just taking the whole thing in the way they view it and the way they view how each of these should be weighed, and give them the ability to create like one score.
I guess my only hesitation in it is, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, is that if I am an employee and I don't have a concept of which factor each person considers most important to them, it's harder for me to adjust so I can fulfill those obligations in the way that makes sense.
But you would get a sense, because you'd see how they rated you on the other things.
Yeah, but like, let's say communication's so important to me that I give I give someone a 5, and I don't particularly care about, let me pick something, cooperation. Which, that sounds like me, actually. Perfect.
I was about to say it, so.
Be the worst cooperator in the world, I'd still give you a 5. But then you would know that cooperation doesn't matter to me, and it's harder to balance if it's my employee to say, hey, why would I try in cooperation if I know that none of the counselors care about it? So this kind of keeps things even if we don't weight them, because you have to cooperate even if it's not someone's number 1 or last thing. That's my only concern, because then you get 9 versions of it. So this keeps it steady.
Well, you wouldn't be telling him directly which ones of these are important to you. You
Oh,
understand? You would only have an overall evaluation. You might be able to figure it out if you gave cooperation a 1
yeah.
and then gave 5 to everything else and then gave overall evaluation 5. Maybe you could figure out that cooperation wasn't important to you.
Yeah,
But-
is the goal of this to tell our employees how we want them to be performing? So like they shouldn't be guessing. Like if we give this,
But-
they're guessing.
But they would get that because you'd still be doing the same evaluation.
Yeah.
Just adding just one thing.
Yeah.
So they'd still see that leadership, 4,
Yeah.
initiative and creativity, whatever, 5. They'd still see every single.
If I'm an employee and everyone gives me a 0 on cooperation, but they give me a 5 overall, why do I have to worry about increasing my cooperation?
Okay.
That's to Kenny's point.
Okay.
Exactly the truth. That's exactly true. If everybody gives him a 0 on cooperation, and him or her, I don't.
Only Kenny would get that.
Yes.
Then there's no reason, knowing that 6 months from now or a year from now, I'm doing another evaluation, same people, I'm going to get the same score. So who cares about the communication piece? I'll work on somewhere else where I was a little bit short.
Right.
Yeah. That's my only thing.
And can I ask a question? Are the performance evaluations, do they generate merit-based pay raises or?
Well, typically that's what we would do. As you saw what we did with the town manager. We did that based on his evaluations and based on what was going on around us in different people in his position. I would say more this position than the council clerk, because the council clerk, we kind of tie it to the other confidential salaries and cut it in half. Or, based on, I'm sorry, because she only works part-time, we
Right.
base the salary on
She
their
gets the same
salary.
increase,
Right,
but she just doesn't, the same percentage increase. She just
right.
half the salary.
The hourly increase, right?
That's why, if you think about it, her evaluation, while it's good to do an evaluation, it's not as critical as the manager and the auditor, because they have much more significant responsibilities, and their merit-based raises would be based on how we think they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
As those impact the overall financial health of the town. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And we couldn't, I would be remiss to say that I would not be able to recommend to the town manager that I'm going to give our part-time employee more money than his full-time clerks and the full-time clerk that works in the personnel office.
Right.
That would kind of throw out the salary structure, and so it's kind of, it doesn't carry as much weight, unfortunately. It's good for the person to know how we feel they're doing, but
Right.
we're not about to be giving merit raises to part-time employees on a consistent basis.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if nobody wants the overall evaluation, I'm fine. I just thought that was the only thing we had from last time, was the weighing of things, and that would make it difficult to do everything. So, like, to figure out, make the math really difficult. So I'm fine without doing the overall evaluation. So any other changes?
Looks good.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we leave the town auditor evaluation form unchanged.
Any discussion? Or you got a second?
Second, and I have a question. So the evaluation, we can explain more, or our additional comments allow us to provide additional input. So I think that I just answered my own question. So
Additional comments could be as many lines and pages as you want.
sure. And I just saw a note from the minutes of the last evaluation that someone had emphasized the importance of the town auditor giving training to the Community Preservation Committee. So that was probably a suggestion that came along the way, and that could allow the counselors to, in their own evaluations, to suggest a little direction or something additional that the parameters of the evaluation would not encompass. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of extra leeway or extra creativity involved from our own evaluation process. So with that, I second that motion.
Mark, you want to-
Any discussion?
I already, oh, that was the discussion.
No, all right, roll call. Can I have, Counselor Woodland,
Yes.
Counselor Gannon,
Yes.
Counselor Bays,
Yes.
unanimous. My suggestion is now you also make a recommendation to the council to use the two tools and send them out at the August 11th meeting, and they need to be returned no later than September 4th or 5th, whatever the Friday is of Labor Day.
And we'll clarify the self-assessment and perhaps the.
I will clarify that.
Yep.
But that's for a future discussion to the committee.
Yeah. Who do we send them to? I just want to put it in the motion. We send them to you?
Send them to me because I prefer that it goes that way instead of, I don't want Marilyn fishing through her documents. And I'll compile a composite when we do that. And the committee can then consider where they want to go. They'll have to meet again for merit-based raises and COLA.
So that's the action item for this. That'll be the action item.
Yeah, the action items you recommend, the two
Recommendation to-
documents.
Oh, okay. I'm drafting it right now.
And how do we decide, based upon the rating, what percentage of a merit rating increase would be appropriate? So
What I will
5
do,
begets X.
well, what I will do for the committee is I will prepare, like I've done in the past, we'll do a current search of what everybody else is paying, current similar positions, and I'll make a report. You'll have those documents, and then we can have a meeting, and I'll come to the meeting and explain what I think would be appropriate based on the information that we gathered through the personnel office of other cities and towns, and the evaluation tool itself. I mean, we don't know, I don't know what it's gonna come out at. You know, and I typically, what happens is, for John and other, you know, others that may not be aware, once we do all the evaluations, I give them to the employee in person by hand, so that they're not out on email that somebody could, and then we make an appointment and sit down and go over them and talk about it. And as I've done in the past with Mr. Tracy and Mr. Driscoll, they sometimes have an idea of where they want to be for their merit raises. So then we have a discussion about that. That's where it all plays in based on information that we gather internally and externally.
And does the personnel director look at salaries for similar positions in
Yes,
comparable towns?
yes. She's done that for us several times in the past. And we also do internal superintendent of schools, you know, business manager, assistant business manager now, and, you know, people of similar jobs around the town. We now have an assistant director of finance at the DPW. So all of those, you know, play a part of the salary discussion.
Good.
Okay. I'll make
You have the motion?
to send both evaluation forms to the full town council at the August 11th meeting, town council meeting, to fill out and return to the council president by September 1 for further consideration by the committee.
Is there a second?
Second? Any
Any further?
discussion?
Ken Woodland,
Yes.
John Gannon,
Yes.
Caroline Bays.
Yes. Okay. So we'll get those and then we can talk about the salary after everything all comes back.
I gotta do a composite, report that out, and then at that point, we will refer, we will continue the discussion on the salaries.
Okay, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So, and second,
Counselor Woodland,
Yes.
Counselor Gannon,
yes.
Counselor Bays.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening to me.
You.
Enjoy your evening. Ken,
Yeah,
go
you too.
outside, it's a little
Stay
warmer.
cool.
Yeah, I
everybody.
know. That is it. Yeah.
Bye-bye now.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.